Does it tell a story?
It mostly tells story of love between people, love in a family, love in the erotic sense, love with a country, love with culture, love with history.
First of all, what is your menu for us today?
I am starting off with an appetizer that is a dip called muhammara. At the base of the word muhammara is the word ahmar, which is red. Red because it's made out of chili peppers, chili that are dried on rooftops, particularly in the north of Syria. So when it's chili season, the rooftops are red because everyone is drying red chili peppers from Aleppo, which then turn into a paste like this. Next will be fettet bitinjan. Fette is the term that means soaked, soaking bread in broth or in a sauce. There are many iterations of fette. This one is one that is close to my heart, and it comes from Damascus. So we have Aleppo, Damascus, and we'll finish off with a postre, a dessert that is very common across the world, and that's one reason why I chose it, and that is rizb halib, arroz con leche, rice pudding, riz au lait. I can say it in all the languages I speak because it's a very familiar postre. It feels and tastes and smells like a grandmother's embrace, I think. And the addition in the region I come from is what I think is the drink of the gods, and that is the water of orange blossom, mazahar.
Well, in Mexico, the drinks of the gods is mezcal. But no mezcal
we are
today.
Halal. We are halal people, so we have oranges.
Yeah. We made tortillas with heritage corn, also with flax seed. We're going to be doing a taco with verdolagas and mole, which is a traditional mole from the north of Mexico that doesn't have all the ingredients like Oaxacan moles. Then we're going to be doing one with huitlacoche. Huitlacoche is this fungus that grows on the corn. And basically, if you ate huitlacoche like every day, you wouldn't need to eat anything else. It has 11 amino acids. It's superfood, and it's inexpensive. Nopales, which I love, cactus petals, which is amazing. So it's going to be a blend of both. We're going to be doing some guacamole for the tacos, and then we're going to be using one type of cheese, but different ages. From this is cotija, which is the only cheese in Mexico that's DOP. Denominación de origen, and then my favorite, frijoles, beans, so nutritional. So we're just going to be doing a pot of beans with something that was brought from the conquest, which is onions and garlic, cilantro from Asia, radishes from Europe. So that's it. And then for dessert, chocolate. We are the country that produces a ton of chocolate, but we only rarely use it for desserts. We use it a lot for drinking. So I made a truffle with Mexican chocolate.
Eduardo, do you want to talk about what you've prepared so far and what you have to put together to create your first?
There are many different ways of cooking with huitlacoche, but the most common here in Mexico, it's onion, green cheese, epazote. I like to add a little bit of tomato for sweetness, and basically you just make like a stew.
Mexican food and the influences on Mexican food from different places?
From the Middle East, from Europe, from Asia, practically from all over the world, because we also have many migrations from, not just from the last 20, 30 years, hundreds of years. We've had migrations from all over the world. We have Jewish people, Muslims, and they bring all these amazing food cultures.
How much you feel that the area from which the food is grown and then collected and made is about nutrition?
We Mediterraneans believe that our food is the healthiest in the world, primarily because we use a lot of vegetables, we use olive oil, we use a lot of grains, so we like to believe that we have a healthy diet. Now, if you really dig into it, you will find also a lot of fat and a lot of bread and a lot of sweets and desserts, so it's a mix. However, if one wants to keep a healthy diet, it's very, very possible around the Mediterranean and in the Levant in particular. There's a lot of plant-based dishes. Our meze is full with very nutritious ingredients. So if one even wants to skip the meat, that's very possible, and we stick to all the salads that we make.
Okay, so here's one question, one answer. Who makes the best falafel in the world?
You are going to start a regional war, and I am not going to allow you to do that. As a Syrian married to an Egyptian living in Jordan with frequent trips to Palestine, I'm not going to go there.
The best falafel I had was in Cairo, actually.
But the difference between other guacamoles is when I was growing up, we made guacamole, but we only used one avocado for a whole recipe because for us it was very expensive. So basically, what my mother used to do is take a bunch of tomatillos, which are the green tomatillos that used to grow in the cornfields, mix that with chile verde and lime and cilantro, and basically make like a shake from these ingredients, and then add the avocado. And what that does, it gives it a ton of flavor, and it makes it a lot greener. So I grew up eating beans, and Mexicans love beans. It is true that in the US they call us beaners, because we do eat a lot of beans. We had hundreds of varieties, the most common in the black and the pinto. Today I brought some bayos from the north of Mexico, heirloom heritage beans. So basically we just ate them as a soup or with tortillas. So today I'm going to be serving the frijoles with the verdolagas and the guacamole.
My main course is fete. The base for layering is crispy pita bread. Originally, it's supposed to be bread from the day before, and it's bread that we haven't used. Therefore, we soak it in sauces, different sauces, to bring it back to life. By the way, the word for bread in Egyptian is life, aish. So I think that our fete brings the aish back to life. I think it's a really nice story. The base of my sauce is fresh tomatoes, onion, garlic, and olive oil. This is what I'm going to pour on top of the bread, and it has the eggplants in it. Now, the original recipe calls for very small eggplants that are stuffed with meat. And I think that part of the reason is that when Lebanese Palestinians or now Syrians travel, they travel because of a conflict. They travel with pain. They travel and they live with that estrangement in a situation of exile. And one way to stay connected, and I visit refugees in their places of exile to see how little they actually change their recipes, even if it becomes very difficult to go to a bazaar. We can always still find a bunch of coriander here and a touch of cumin there. And by the way, I brought you your batch of cumin like you asked me.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love Syrian cumin.
Then the last layer is Greek yogurt.
The sour cream, the crema.
Exactly, like on top of the enchiladas and everything
I
else.
have some cheese here.
Maybe not. People in Damascus in particular, where this fete come from, when there's a big invitation, there has to be something white. White is pure, white is hope, white is a good tomorrow, white is a good beginning.
Mexico is the only country in the world that the food is UNESCO's heritage. They only needed one state, Michoacán, to take this to UNESCO. They didn't use the other 31 states. We are gifted because we have recipes from our ancestors.
Let's talk a little bit about hospitality.
For me, it's family, friendship, love.
There's a word in Arabic called nafas. I think the closer translation to it would be breath.
Yep.
And that means breathing into the food so much love, in anticipation of serving it to your family, to your loved ones, to your friends, to your community.
And when they asked what the secret ingredient to Palestinian cooking, it was breath.
Nafas.
Nefa was the secret ingredient, which I found really, really quite moving. If either of you want to talk about the magic of food.
For me, it literally saved my life.
For me, food and stories go together. Telling the stories of my home, my hometown, my country, my region, the Levant, my friends, the travels, and how they all mix is magic to me. My children are half Syrian, half Egyptian, and they're American. For me, it's very important that they eat fette. It's very important that when they travel the world and see a dish that is layered with yogurt on top, they know it comes from Syria. They cannot go to Syria because of the conflict, but they can have Syria every day in their house, thanks to fette and thanks to other dishes. This is the story. This is the magic for me.
In Mexican cooking, we often associate spicy, hot, chiles, other kinds of, with Mexican cooking, not so much probably with Syrian. Can you talk a little bit before we go into the sweets about what is it about the chiles, they always say, do you want it very hot, medium hot, mild? What is it about that?
So in Mexico, people always think that Mexican food is super spicy, but it's really not. It doesn't even have to do with mild, medium, high. It has to do with the family, where that recipe comes from. Like, for instance, people in the north, they don't eat spicy. They eat extra spicy. Hundreds, probably thousands of varieties of moles. It just depends on the family. A family could have a type of mole. The neighbor could have the same recipe but different flavors. And then you go from cities to states to villages, and it's all...
We also use a combination of spices separately or put together in what we call the 7 spices. The 7 spices is actually something we ask the seller at the bazaar, give me an ounce of 7 spices, and that's 7 different spices that are mixed together, and they form the basis of a very recognizable and distinct taste in most Syrian kitchens. My dessert, I think, is a staple. It's a very basic and very familiar dessert in most houses across the region, not just the Levant. It expands to Egypt, to Morocco, and even across the Mediterranean. It's rice and milk, rizb halib. Again, I think I have found an iteration of this dessert everywhere I have traveled.
To make a truffle, very simple, to taste like chocolate and spices. We at the restaurant love chocolate and cardamom. It's the perfect combination. So, like I was saying, in Mexico, we don't really have a ton of desserts with chocolate or hat, but mostly they use the cacao to make hot chocolate or even cold drinks.
Being in the kitchen for an hour on a stressful day is my yoga. I would not be able to do my week and to do my conflicts and my human rights violations without a few hours in the kitchen. It is really what takes away my stress.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you both so much.
Gracias.